Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, General and Admiral, for being here. I apologize for being late. The demands on our time these days are a little bit overwhelming. General Townsend, first let me just say that I join my colleagues in sending condolences to you and the families of those killed and injured in the attack on Manda Bay. I especially want to point out and send our condolences to the family of Army Specialist Mitch Mayfield, who was a valued soldier in the 1st Battalion of the 58th Aviation Regiment out of Fort Rucker, Alabama. It's an amazing group down there, and he was certainly part of that amazing group. Admiral, I want to go back to something that I think you may have touched on briefly with Senator Shaheen concerning the USS Detroit and the littoral combat ships that are being used around. That ship was not made in Alabama. Well, we have a lot of the LCSs made down at Austell, down in Mobile, and that are employed around the world. And I'd like, if you could, tell me a little bit more about how the LCS has been helpful in the operations in your area, and how you might, is it possible to use, or would you want additional LCSs or other vessels like the EPF to help in this in your area of expertise?
So counter-narcotics mission demands platforms for endgame, working with law enforcement to take both the detainees that we gain intel from and the drugs off the streets here in the U.S. Detroit's had success in that endeavor. They have unmanned aerial vehicle Fire Scout embarked along with a helicopter. That's a great force package. We've also used the Detroit in a freedom of navigation operation off the coast of Venezuela in waters that Venezuela claims that international law does not recognize. Detroit did a magnificent job sailing close to the coast of Venezuela and providing that intelligence and reporting back to us. So the ships are multi-mission. The ships are capable. Unfortunately, had a rocky start. I think the kinks are being worked out. The Detroit's performance since November has been above standards in all manners of reliability, and we welcome the deployment of the next littoral combat ship to the region. We could use more of these ships. They're well suited for the kind of missions in this hemisphere.
Great. Well, thank you very much. And as a former U.S. attorney, I'm acutely aware of the drug problem that we have in this country and the importation of drugs. And I'd like to do all we can. And I have been concerned about the administrations of diverting some resources to what I think would be more appropriate for interdiction. But that's for another case, another discussion. I believe Senator Kaine may have mentioned an American Reassurance Initiative. And I want to give you a chance to talk about that a little bit more, Admiral. There's been discussion for years about developing a Western Hemisphere security initiative, but so far we've just not been able to get it down. Can you tell us what the status of those conversations is and what impact that may or may not have on the future in your area?
Senator, proximity matters, and this is our neighborhood. And when you can fly to Central America, shorter flights than Washington, D.C. from Miami it's telling of how closely connected we are. And there's been various doctrines over the years. We had the good neighbor policy for FDR. We've had the Monroe Doctrine. I think there's been discussion by others, the think tanks, and Senator Kaine has mentioned it. I think there might be a big idea for this hemisphere where we pull together the whole of government efforts necessary to recognize that these interior lines in military speak, this neighborhood matters. China and Russia certainly recognize that. And to the extent that it takes resources, some of that resources is just our time and attention. And a little goes a long way. If it was a stock, it'd have a great PE ratio, and you'd want to invest in it for the future. And the investments we've made are sound. I think we need to stay the course and look to where we can smartly increase and focus those investments. And a big idea associated with something like, as you mentioned, the Western Hemisphere Initiative might be a way to start.
Great. Well, thank you, sir. And I would like to encourage you to stay in touch with my office about it. We're right there in Alabama, right there on the Gulf of Mexico. So it is closer to us than a lot of folks. And my office is more than willing to help initiate those discussions or help develop those. So stay in touch and let us know. So thank you very much to both of you for your service and for being here today. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.